Almost every sports bettor thinks that they're losing for a different reason, but most are making the exact same mistakes: chasing action, betting emotionally, forcing bets, and obsessing over win rates. The bookies absolutely love it. So in this video, I'm breaking down 10 sports betting mistakes almost everyone makes, how they quietly destroy your bankroll, and why fixing them completely changes the way you look at sports betting. Starting with the biggest one of all of them. One of the biggest mindset shifts in sports betting is realizing that there is not value in every single bet. Most bettors say that they want to make money, but if you look at how they actually behave, they're just addicted to chasing action. They feel like they need to bet on a bunch of football matches every Saturday afternoon and every Champions League night. If Bet365 flashes up a boost or there's an in-play betting offer on Betfair, they convince themselves that they've found an opportunity. But busy does not mean you're being profitable. The smartest sports betting is far more selective. Profit doesn't come from constantly being involved. It comes from finding situations where the numbers genuinely make sense, and sportsbooks know it. That's why they target your emotions, push accumulators, cash outs, bet builders, and in-play notifications. They want customers betting impulsively and staying emotionally engaged because emotional bettors are always losing bettors. Which leads me perfectly onto the next massive mistake. The sports betting media repeatedly tells sports fans that picking winners is the advantage, but it's not how profitable betting works. The truth is, millions of people watch the Premier League every weekend and have an opinion on Arsenal, Liverpool, and who they think is going to win. Because of a simple psychological bias, a lot of losing bettors become obsessed with being right, whereas profitable bettors become obsessed with getting value, mathematically. There's a massive difference. Bookmakers don't make money because they predict the future. They simply price probability and make sure the numbers favour them over the long run. That's why you can make a good bet and still lose, or make a bad bet and still win. Over the long term, overpaying on price puts your bankroll in the bookmaker's back pocket. This is also why services like OddsMonkey and Outplayed have genuinely helped so many winners, because they help people focus on maths, pricing, and value instead of trying to be some kind of football prediction genius. The bookies hate them, so I'll leave some links in the description because they're one of the easiest ways to understand a genuine betting advantage and what it actually looks like. And once you understand that, another huge mistake becomes obvious, because bettors often obsess over win rate instead of their return on investment, because a lot of bettors think, did I win the bet? Instead of thinking, was it actually a good bet? They're two very different things, as I previously mentioned, because you can win lots of bets and still lose money long term if you're constantly taking bad odds. On the flip side, you can lose more bets than you win and still make money if the prices take enough value for you. For example, somebody backing heavy favourites at very short prices might win 7 out of 10 bets and barely make any profit at all because of the price. Meanwhile, somebody betting selectively on big price outsiders might win 4 out of 10 bets but end up a long way ahead. The sportsbook love the fact that most bettors don't think like this. People become obsessed with being right. They screenshot winning bets, brag about hit rates, and avoid taking value if it means losing more often. But profitable betting isn't about protecting your ego. It should be about making money over the long term. And this is exactly why it's important not to make the next mistake on the list. A lot of casual bettors have one sportsbook app. They use it to place every bet. But the exact same bet might be priced very differently at Bet365, Betfair, Sky Bet, and the rest. The difference matters enormously. It quietly costs people way more money than they realise. If two shops were selling the same TV for 500 quid or 650 quid respectively, nobody in their right mind would willingly pay the higher price. Yet punters do this every day without even thinking about it, and the sportsbooks know it. The betting apps know most customers prioritise convenience over value and end up betting impulsively. So make sure that you shop around. Comparing prices and spotting value is time consuming when you do it manually, so using some good software is ideal. Now, once you understand how important price really is, the next massive mistake becomes obvious. Betting fans always remember the emotional moments, the big wins, the bad beats, the acca that nearly landed, but then they lose track of hundreds of smaller bets happening over the weekends and months. And honestly, a lot of them would be shocked if they added everything up. Many of the sports betting apps don't exactly encourage people to analyze their long-term performance either. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to place another bet, but how awkward it is to properly review your long-term results? It's by design, because once you start tracking things, reality hits in very quickly. You suddenly realize which sports lose you money, which bet types have the worst odds, and whether you're actually profitable at all. For the majority, the answer is uncomfortable. Tracking whether you're actually winning or losing is crucial, even if it's a simple spreadsheet, because it removes emotion and forces us to look at things objectively. And when you do that, the next mistake really stands out. This is another classic mistake and a human bias. It relates to short-term results. People lose on 2 or 3 bets and decide a strategy doesn't work. Then they win 4 bets the following weekend and think they've cracked sports betting. But really, all of these results could mean nothing for your overall betting strategy. A last-minute goal, missed penalty, red card, or VAR decision can completely change a single result. But the mistake is assuming that that short-term variance in results reflects long-term reality. And this kind of thing is why so many bettors jump from strategy to strategy and tipster to tipster. They see someone having a good week and assume that they've found the answer. Professional gamblers don't do this. They don't think in days or weekends. They think in terms of weeks, months, seasons, and samples of hundreds of bets. Failing to do this directly leads into one of the most painful mistakes that you can make, as I'll explain in this next point. Losing control after a few losses isn't uncommon, because losing changes how people think. At the start of the weekend, everything is logical. You've got a plan, a budget, and you're betting on things you genuinely like. Then a few bets lose. Suddenly, the next bet looks better than it really is. Stakes start to creep up, and before long, you're no longer trying to make good decisions. You're trying to get your money back. The funny thing is, most people don't even realize that they're doing it. Nobody sits there thinking, I'm about to make an emotional decision. Instead, they think to themselves, I fancy this one, I'm due a winner, or I'll get this back on this game. But that's exactly where the very worst mistakes happen. When emotions take over, rational thinking and discipline goes out the window. Ironically, the longer a losing run goes on, the stronger the temptation becomes to place another bet, which leads perfectly onto this next mistake. Although I should say, if that last one becomes an issue, it's worth taking a step back. Now, it's common for people to try forcing bets simply because they feel like they're missing out. A lot of people treat betting activity as if it is the goal. It's not. The goal is always profit. But when the Premier League or the World Cup is on TV, social media is full of predictions and everybody's talking about their bets. So naturally, it feels like you should have one too. And that is where a lot of bad decisions start. Because the market doesn't care that it's Saturday afternoon. It doesn't care that it's a Champions League final or a huge televised match. Just because everybody is talking about a game doesn't automatically mean that there's value in those odds. In fact, it's usually quite the opposite. Some of the best bets that you'll find are not in those obvious places. Sitting on your hands and waiting for an opportunity is never a bad thing, because once people start feeling like they need a bet, they often start looking at somebody else to tell them what to back, which leads perfectly onto these last two. Following tips and pundits is easier than building a system or tracking value for yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with learning from experienced bettors, but there's a big difference between learning how somebody thinks and blindly following betting tips. Following tips is easy. You join a Telegram group, follow somebody on X, or you watch a YouTube video, and suddenly you've got bets for the day without doing any of the work yourself. The problem is that you never learn why those bets were placed in the first place. So when the picks win, you feel great. And when they lose, you move on to the next tipster or expert promising better results. The best bettors tend to think differently. They have a process, a set of rules, a reason for every bet that they place. They're not relying on whoever happened to be having a good week, because in betting, good systems survive bad runs. And the reason so many bettors end up chasing tips, forcing bets, and making emotional decisions is because they don't realize something about the industry itself. Sports betting companies want you thinking emotionally. This final mistake is never realizing what the sportsbooks actually want you to get from them, thinking about things that get promoted every time you open a betting app or site. The flashy boosts, the bet builders, the accumulators, the in-play offers, and the constant notifications. None of these are designed to make you slow down and think more carefully. They're designed to keep you emotionally engaged and irrational, because almost every mistake we've covered in this video comes back to emotion: chasing action, chasing losses, forcing bets, following the crowd, focusing on being right instead of making money. The best bettors do the exact opposite. They're patient, selective, and process driven. The moment you stop thinking like a customer and start thinking like an investor, sports betting starts to look very different. So what does that actually look like? Well, click the video in end screen now and I'll show you a betting strategy built around maths, value, and long-term profit. It's not luck, predictions, or hope.